The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Jimmy Kimmel had a great question. If Trump goes to prison, does the Secret Service go with him? Like, do they have to be in? Do they have to serve? It sounds like the premise for a Mark Wahlberg, Kevin Hart movie, right? Jail to the chief. Love it. James Corden said, tell you what, I bet Trump's ready to defund the police now. Corden again. Melania's at Mar-a-Lago like, please don't put him under house arrest. Please don't put him under house arrest. Anything but house arrest. Dave Chappelle told a story on his podcast. He said the story took place when Twitter first started. Chappelle tried to sign up for Twitter, but he found out the name Dave Chappelle was already in use. He thought that was odd and checked out who was using his name. It turned out to be somebody pretending to be him, who he calls fake Dave Chappelle. Fake Dave Chappelle had pictures and everything. At first, Dave was like, I need to put a stop to the page. Then he started reading the guy's tweets and thought they were hilarious and figured, hey, I'll get a good comedy reputation without having to pay this guy. Chappelle became so intrigued with fake Chappelle that he would get coffee every morning and check Twitter just to see what fake Dave was up to. Then fake Dave Chappelle went rogue and started attacking celebrities and friends of real Dave. One of the celebrities that he attacked was Katt Williams. Fake Dave Chappelle and Katt Williams started going at it on Twitter. The problem for real Dave was that Katt Williams was saying things to the fake Dave that were actually hurting real Dave's feelings. But wait, there's more. The guest on the podcast, Katt Williams. Katt told Chappelle he never had a Twitter account. Turns out fake Dave Chappelle and fake Katt Williams were having a war. Real Dave and real Katt find that very funny. So do I. I apparently missed back in October a really good interview by a Good One podcast with Sam Morilll, and I found this exchange really interesting as I went back and looked at it. A Good One asked Sam, hey, you filmed 7 shows for your Netflix special Same Time Tomorrow, but the running time is only 45 minutes. Sam said, the Netflix deal I got wasn't incredible, so I'm like, why am I giving them a full hour of material? I look at it as a teaser for the road. I cut a lot of stuff, so it's kind of like I can self-release that stuff. It's like bonus crowd work. I could start the new hour with some of that material. I've also put out 3 specials in the last 3 years. I'm tired. Follow-up question. Do you care about the sanctity of an hour as an idea? Sam said, I think it's a backwards idea. They have all this data showing that people zone out after like minute 15. So why am I given a full hour? I think it was Ari Shaffir who told me that Comedy Central demanded he give them over an hour. So he gave them like an hour and 9 minutes and the special aired 42 minutes long. And he's thinking, did I just waste 27 minutes? This is crazy. I don't think they realize how hard it is to write jokes that you're pleased with and also promote gigs all the time. Tim Heidecker is going on tour. It'll be the Two Tims tour, where he does his serious musical stuff with his very good band, plus a set of comedy featuring his, quote, no more BS persona. This kicks off in Monterey, California, July 28th, heads back to the East Coast, including Webster Hall in New York on August 9th, and then finishes up in Oklahoma City, the one in Oklahoma, on August 24th. The charges against Justin Roiland were dropped. That's the Rick and Morty co-creator. Charges involving an ex-girlfriend were dismissed, quote, due to a lack of sufficient evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, said a spokeswoman for the Orange County District Attorney. Roiland tweeted the word justice and said, I'm still deeply shaken by the horrible lies reported about me. He wants to move forward. His statement, I've always known these claims were false. Most of all, I'm disappointed that so many people were quick to judge without knowing the facts based solely on the word of an embittered ex trying to bypass due process and have me canceled. He ends a statement saying he plans to move forward and focus both on my creative projects and restoring my good name. They're making a biopic of Cheech and Chong. That sounds cool. The Hollywood Reporter has some nice boilerplate here. Cheech and Chong came to prominence in the 70s and 80s, you can't come to prominence in the 70s and 80s. You come to prominence and then you're prominent. Come on. Becoming synonymous with stoner culture by riffing on and lifting up the counterculture of the time, from hippies to, of course, cannabis. Their combined output included successful stand-up shows, comedy albums, and low-budget feature films, including Up in Smoke, Cheech and Chong's next movie, and Nice Dreams. In a joint statement, Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong said jointly, and I never understand how joint statements work. Are they like the Borg? Do they just say this at the same time together on 3? 1, 2, 3. We are excited to show the world how 2 dudes from completely different backgrounds got together, changed comedy, and made cannabis mainstream.
Welcome to How to Tickle Yourself. I'm your host, Duff McDonald.
And I'm your co-host, Matt McButter. We'll be talking to people who specialize in different ways of inhabiting their own consciousness, from artists to yoga teachers to scientists. We've even got a professional magician.
We're going to ask them questions like, what is consciousness? Why does it tickle? And what is magic anyway? Is it just card tricks, or is it the fact that your little speck of consciousness is part of a perfect possibility machine?
Find us wherever you get your podcasts and at storicmedia.com.
Are you in Idaho, home of Ryan Hamilton? Well, get on over to the Treefort Comedy Festival. 8 o'clock tonight at the Boise Center East. It's early show featuring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 comedians. Shane Torres will be the most famous on that list. Meanwhile, at 8:15 over at Mad Swede Brew Hall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 comedians, Matt Besser being the most famous there. 10:15 at the Boise Center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different comedians. And at 10:30 at Mad Swede, 6 different comedians again. All right, plenty of comedy tonight. John, you always do the what should we go see? We saw Matt Besser recently in our hypothetical travel, so let's go see the Shane Torres show early. And since I won't want to walk anywhere, since we're already at the Boise Center, we'll see the late show at the Boise Center. This weekend, for the first time in a long time, I have some weekend filler, which I'll tell you about in a second. So I've already recorded and didn't include what should we do on Saturday, so let's just do this now. 5:30, Improv for Humans with Matt Besser, podcast taping, all right. Another reason not to see Matt Besser tonight. 8 o'clock, Boise Center has an early show. There's also a late show. And guess what? Mad Swede also has an early show and a late show. But the headliner in town with shows at 8 and 10:30 at the Egyptian Theater, Tig Notaro. Let's try and see Matt Besser early at 5:30, and then we'll go see Tig Notaro. How's that sound? HBO is bringing back a Black Lady sketch show for season 4. All the main players will be back. A Black Lady sketch show returns April 14th. Remember Broken Lizard? Yeah, they haven't had a movie in a while. It's been 5 years. Well, they've dropped the trailer for Quasi. Quasi is a send-up of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. A hapless hunchback yearns for love, but finds himself in the middle of a murderous feud between the Pope and the King of France, when each orders the hunchback to kill the other. That'll be on Hulu on April 20th, which is probably not accidentally 420. And Johnny Mac, you had said you were going to get back to that thing from Vulture where they had the Chat GPT write some jokes in the style of comedians, and you never did. What's with that? I know. Anyway, Vulture had the Chat GPT write some jokes in the style of Maria Bamford. I don't even do a half-ass Maria Bamford, so I'll just read this straight. The Chat GPT, as Maria wrote, I'm not sure how to feel about getting older on the one hand. I'm more experienced and wiser on the other hand. I can't remember anything. I went to the grocery store the other day and forgot why I was there, so I just walked up and down the aisles until I found something that looked familiar. That's how I ended up with a cart full of butternut squash and cat food. It's like my brain is slowly turning into a random number generator. You know, I kind of like that. Let's see what Maria said. She said, I thought it was interesting that this says in the style of me because it isn't personal. My stuff's about mental health and personal experiences, and the way the chatbot did it was very observational and crowd-pleasing. Nothing that anybody would be uncomfortable with. It felt more like a very popular club comic act, which can be great. One more from the ChatGPT, as Maria Bamford wrote, you know what's the worst thing about getting older? You can't do anything without making weird noises. You stand up, you groan, you sit down, you grunt, you bend over, you wheeze. I feel like I'm auditioning for a sound effects library, and don't even get me started on how long it takes me to get out of bed in the morning. It's like watching a sloth trying to pole vault. Maria locked in the line I did too. She said, it's like watching a sloth try to pole vault is a legitimate, excellent punchline. It's taking a low-energy animal and then having them do something spectacular. If you read comedy books, they say the way to make something funny is to amp it up to the nth degree and say something unexpected. So in that way, it's done a great job. All right, this weekend. So what do I have for you? On Saturday, you remember a couple weeks back, I said I wanted to revisit the 50 greatest stand-up comedians of all time as listed by Rolling Stone back in like 2016 or so. I revisited it. So that's tomorrow's episode. I just felt like doing that. And last week I had so much that I had recorded the whole weekend and still had stuff left over. So I planned out my editorial calendar and I said, I will play that card on Saturday, March 24th. On Sunday, it's Adam Sandler Day. Because as you know, Adam Sandler won the Mark Twain Prize for Humor. And CNN's going to telecast it, and the Washington Post did an article about Adam Sandler, so I decided to take a look at that. So that's this weekend, and you can follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows, and I'll see you tomorrow. So you're at McDonald's, and you get your bag, and you open your bag, you want to grab a couple of fries or something, and there's $5,000 in it. Yeah, this happened to one guy. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac, host of 5 Good News Stories. He gave the money back, don't worry. If you want to start your day with a smile twice a week, I've got 5 good news stories for you. For example, there's an airline for dogs. Or what about the woman in her 80s who just released her debut album? How about the dude who found 150 corn on the cobs under his floorboards? Is corn on the cobs even the way you say that? Who cares? And yes, that was a pony at the supermarket. 5 good news stories, the number 5 good news stories, 5 good news stories, the number 5 good news stories, wherever you get your podcasts.